Hi guys. Um, Earth Goddess here. I'm gathering some stuff. I've got a crystal quartz here with my red rose. I also brought out my green snake because I want to bring out green, white, and red energies. You're gonna have to disregard. You know what? Let's keep the snake here. You're gonna have to disregard the noise in the background. These kids are off school, so whenever you hear them screaming and crying, it's just they're crying to play and have fun, and they're not doing it. Let's get this going on here. What I want to talk about today is actually this letter isn't doing any justice. Yeah, you're gonna have to hold on for a second. I'll be back. Okay. Whew. I'm back. So, what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about the Armenian Genocide, okay? So, the world knows, or the world, Europe and slowly the North American states and Canada is starting to become aware of what the Armenian Genocide is. Now, I've stated so many times that the Armenian Genocide wasn't just 1915, and it started way before the World War I. There has always been Armenian genocides, and there has been plans to keep having genocides, okay? And the root of modern genocides stems from the New Testament of the God of Israel, okay? So, as you may know, there are, in every government all across the globe, there are Zionists, okay, who are aiming to restore the country Israel, okay? And they're planning on doing it in a certain manner, okay? Hence why and how ISIS, their guns and weapons and stuff has been funded by the Canadian, European, and American government, okay? So, what is it that I want to touch base on with the Armenian Genocide? Okay, there's a lot to say. So, keeping things a little understood is probably the best way to do so. I was planning on doing this video outdoors, but it's just way too windy despite the appearance of the sun. So I have to do this indoors, and it's just very limited in here. I was hoping to get out and really connect with the sun, but because Armenians are considered to be the men of the sun, those who sacrifice, okay? So, if you know anything about the God of Israel, it's a three-faceted God, or a trinity form of a God. There is El Shaddai, Adonai, and Yahweh, okay, or Yahoveh. And putting this into practice and really observing, it is the same gods of the Hindu pantheon: Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma, okay? Even the Quran has these same Trinity aspects. Although the Quran is mostly aimed of Shiva, Lord Shiva is the god of the Quran, okay? That is why you'll see, but they also do invoke and work, but they don't really know with Shiva's counterpart, female counterpart, but it's been separated, okay? That's why you'll find the womb. They go to Mecca and there's the womb. There's that silver bowl looking thing. Or even if it's not in Mecca, there's that cube in Mecca that they all go circle around. But that cube is associated with Saturn, but it's also associated with Earth. because Saturn and Earth, it's like saying Saturn's God. Saturn is the government, bankers, one world thing, again associated with these gods, and as well as Earth is Mother Gaia, so Earth is feminine, okay? It's the goddess. So there's so many different ways to look at this, but with this whole thing with the Baal and like the temples coming up in Europe and the States, it's still the same God of Israel, okay? It just depends on how you look at it. There's one God, and it's different aspects of this one God, okay? Even he's in the Israel Bible, Hebrew Bible. But what does this have to do with Armenians? This has a lot to do with Armenians because things took place and it was recorded down, although it's been butchered up and transmitted in certain ways to control the people, to control the masses, to control, and to have a government formed into one world government. It's like saying a one God, right? We never really had one God in the ancient days because humans are multifaceted and they go through many different extremes of emotions and events and such. So there's different mantras and different gods and goddesses for that emotion and what to do and dissolve and resolve for that situation in a certain manner. But Moses and the gods of Israel, when they went to Egypt, they came out and they formed that one God. Okay, that's like going back to Akhenaten in Egypt. Okay. It was then where things were starting to become established as that one God, where he took out Amun-Ra and tried to destroy him, which is associated with Armenia, because Amun-Ra and Armenia is associated as the same type of God, okay? Now, in Armenian, we do not say we are Armenian. We say we are Hai, and Hai comes from the hike, and hike is actually the Orion constellation, okay? So there's differences. The Romans is what called us Amun-Ra. So obviously some things took place in Egypt, okay, that formed this. And again, the Romans were Zionists, just like that formed Turkey, just like Azerbaijan, just like all these newer cultures, okay? Again, I don't want to get into so much of this stuff because I want you to do your own research and find out on your own. So the Armenian Genocide, Armenians have always been around to play a part for these governmental associations and sacrifices, okay? But just know that the Armenians from day one, from the ancient times, they were a very rich culture. They were creators, very innovating. They had innovating minds, and it's even written in the Hebrew Bible in ancient Aramaic and ancient Hebrew that Armenians were one of the most superior in terms of the mind. Hence why you'll find that we are Ram people in certain villages and certain things of which we've become now as a national dance or culture associated with rams, okay? There's a ram back there. So, the mountain goat, Armenia is a very mountainous region, and there's rams, and there's ibex, and there's mountain goats, there, and the Armenians and the people would communicate and connect with these rams and these goats and become one with it and utilize and bring in those traits and learn how to survive, because Armenians have always been hit to form a new government, okay? Armenian women have always been raped and kidnapped and taken in as a wife for Muslim surrounding countries and prior to Muslim surrounding countries to form new cultures, okay? Armenian women were considered top-notch of importance for creating new cultures, because Armenian women were always labeled as very rich, noble, royal women in the ancient times. So there were very much, there were always targets to steal the women, okay? Way before the Abrahamic faiths came into part. So before the Abrahamic faiths and Christianity, before we established ourselves as Christians, which was actually a plot by these governments, by the Abrahamic faiths, because there needs to be a sacrifice, okay? So Christianity is all about self-sacrifice. Jesus sacrificed himself to the government. Jesus sacrificed himself to his God. Jesus was a solar, sunny disposition. He looked up to the sun and he talked to the sun and said, Father. And Father, Armenians are the men of the sun. It's very much connected, guys. It was always a plot. Do you understand me? It was a plot. And you have to understand that Israel is a government, is not actually a people. It's a government, okay? And that's why Israel right now is forming its own culture, its own people. And who's to say, in Israel, you know how many fights they have on who are the real Jews, who are the real Israelis? People from Europe, the Jews, the Israeli people from Europe, are immigrating to Israel because that's what all the Israeli communities are saying. You know what, you have to move to your homeland so that they can form a bigger culture. And then they go to Israel and there's people that live there. There can be different kinds of, there's so many different kinds of Jews. There's so many in Israel or outside of Israel, and they try to form together and they have fights on who the real Israelis are. Just like every culture will fight and say who is the real. Armenians, they fight each other and they say, oh, you're not an Armenian, I'm an Armenian. You're not a true Armenian, I'm a true Armenian. And there's different kinds of Armenians, okay? Because Armenians were a tribal people and they even had different kingdoms. Okay, there was different kingdoms. My ancestry comes from the Hittite, okay? Hittite kingdoms, okay? There was a Mitanni. There were so many different kinds of Armenian kingdoms. And it goes on. And the Mitanni traveled to Egypt and not even Hittites even. So, but we're very much connected to Egypt, okay? Armenians are very much connected to the Ethiopians and to Africa, despite what people know. Because you have to understand, it was only from the recent times of the genocide, the Armenian Genocide, which is going to be 101 years this year, April 24, that people don't know what our real history and our real story is all about, because our real culture, because it's been ripped out of history. It's even been ripped out of the Armenian history. All the intelligent people were crucified, killed, burned at the stake, hanged, so that nobody knows about this real story. Nobody knows that we were connected. Nobody knows about this. And they've created new cultures around the globe and established that our creations and our history is actually theirs when it's not. Okay. There are plans going on right now. If you actually go back to my older videos, I do mention before the Temple of Baal that's opened, that ISIS and the Zionists are planning on bringing back the god and the goddess back, okay? Because they know in the Hebrew Bible there is a god and a goddess, okay? So that is what ISIS is doing. That's why they were called ISIS, okay? And they changed their name to ISIL or ICE, whatever the hell that is now. I don't even know. I don't care. I don't look into them. It's just not what I want to do. So, and now that's what's happened. So, another thing is what they're planning is, I just had it on my brain now, it's like kind of leaving, is with Turkey. They created a false nationalism called the Turkish culture, which isn't real. It's only about 100 years old. There's no culture named Turkey. There's no Turkish culture. There's Turkic culture, but it is an Asian Mongolian cultural lineage, cultural background. But Turkish, there's no such thing. So they created this false nationalism. So as a plot to get, they're planning on, as a plot to have World War II, and then a plot to now have World War III. So their intention is to create a World War III. And we don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but when they hit Azerbaijan, and now they hit Syria, they're hitting Turkey now. Their intention is to destroy Turkey because they only kept it for 100 years to get rid of the Armenians as a sacrifice. Okay? Then they did to the Jews in Europe, which was another sacrifice so that the remaining survivors can go to Israel. So why is it that the entire world and North America in general only establishes the Jews, the European Holocaust, as the only Holocaust in modern times, but they don't want to talk about the natives. They don't want to talk about the Armenians. They don't want to talk about other things, okay? So these things are a plot. It is an actual intention that they're doing. The reasons why there is still a country named Armenia is also a plot, because they need to have the Armenian culture and the Armenian people. Literally, they need to have the name Armenia on the map. It doesn't matter how small or how big it is. Obviously, their intention is to have it really small. That's why they don't want to change the map and show Nakhichevan or Nagorno-Karabakh Artsakh as an Armenian state, because they don't want to make it bigger because of multiple reasons. But having the name Armenia on a certain map or on that is vitally important for the government, because they need that 13th tribe in order to have a sacrifice. Okay, they need it. It's called the Men of the Sun for a reason. If you look at Metatron's cube, you need to look this up. It's very important, okay? It's been a plot for a very long time, and it will remain a plot. But it will never be 100% successful to wipe off the Armenians. There are Zionist Jews who even admit that the Armenian people are beyond superior with survival instincts and survival skills. They've tried to butcher us. They've tried to wipe us off the planet. It doesn't successfully work, because we are not only intelligent beings and people, but we know how to survive. And so their plan is for us to just mix and mingle with other races and nationalities and just blend in and not have our own people. That is what their intention is. And whether that's right, whether that's wrong, that's not my thing. But their point is for us not to have a government, okay? Because they've taken the Israel political government in order to form this new thing, okay? Now, me being on this planet and doing my healing abilities and what I've experienced and what I've had to go through with Muslims, Jews, and Christians, as well as other people in the government, my aim and what I'm here to do is to keep people alive as long as possible, and to educate and to teach them on what is really happening based on my experiences, based on what's happened in my ancestry. These are all facts. These are all real. They're not made up. They're not coming out of just a made-up thing. These are real stuff that's happening, and it's happened before, and it's reoccurring, and it's going to keep happening. Because the Armenians they were very rich people, and then the coin flipped, and genocides took place when they named us Armenia, okay? Because we weren't called Armenia before. We weren't known worldwide as Armenia. We call ourselves Hai. It's not the same thing. But anyways, us Armenians, because we've had to go through genocide, the entire world has to go through genocide, okay? That which you send out returns to you. So, we all come from each other. Our root is the same. We are all brothers. We are all sisters. And it's not just made for one, okay? So they're planning on doing worldwide genocides, and it's not just for the Armenians, but it's for everyone. And so long as I'm on this planet and doing my work, I'm balancing these energies out. I'm constantly working and sending these energies to balance and to protect the people as much as possible. I can't control it. I can't stop it 100%. It's still going to happen. But I'm preventing it from rapidly happening in one shot. And how am I doing that? I'm a shaman. I've already sent out my energies in the four corners of this world. People that know me have seen my work. People that know me have seen what happens, what I'm capable of doing. And I'm not here to tell you or to sell you something that which is not real. but it is what it is, okay? And, I don't really want to get into detail about the Armenian genocide per se, because a genocide is a genocide, okay? A Holocaust is a Holocaust. You know what's involved in a Holocaust. Rape, kidnapping, children being butchered, the list goes on. So I don't have to educate you on that. You could just Google what a genocide is and see for yourself. But the only reason why I bring up the Armenians is because Armenians are the root of these modern genocides, because it's been 2,000 years of this Abrahamic faith of the New Testament, and that's why this last 2,000 years is when the Armenian culture has been raped of its glory, has shrank of its if its country, if its native land, if its native people, if its native real origins and culture. Okay, and eventually, unfortunately, the entire world is going to have to face and go through what it is that we have had to go through. Okay, so it's not about the Armenians anymore. It's about the entire world, and the entire world is going to have to face genocide, and it's going to continue, and it's going to continue, and it's going to continue. Genocide has been around since the beginning of time. This is not new. Okay? Humans have always drank blood. Humans have always eaten human flesh. Humans have always cut heads off. Humans will do to their brother, will do to their son, will do to their father and their mother. It's always been like this. It does not matter how civilized they are. Someone will incarnate. It can be in the family, and it usually is in the family who is not as so civilized, or who wants what their family member has and will stop nothing to get it. Okay? So governments are all about having power over the people. The God of Israel is all about this. And the way they have actually succeeded, these governments, is to feed you, to make you have faith. They've planted churches, they've planted Islamic mosques, they've planted synagogues everywhere, so that it's mandatory that you have faith and you believe in these religions, so that we manifest it globally to take center and to happen on this globe, okay? The God of Israel is the same God as Baal, okay? Is the same gods of the Hindu pantheon, is the same God of Vishnu, is the same God of Shiva, is the same God of Brahma, okay? These are the same gods. And you have to understand, I don't make this stuff up. I have literally, my entire spine and my DNA has been encoded with Sanskrit codes, Sanskrit mantras, Hebrew codes, Aramaic, Arabic, okay? You do not know the extremes I have been through. I had a Muslim guy from Lebanon come and be obsessed with me for years. It took me physically 4 years to get rid of this guy. He's still around. He still watches me. I know it. There's been multiple proofs, but he can't touch me. He can't do anything to me anymore. This guy went as far as, he was possessed. Like, he would go to the cremation grounds, and this is in the Quran too, okay? Go to the cremation grounds, which is, the graveyard, in the middle of the night, and he would tell me how he'd become possessed by these entities, and then he to make it short, he basically told me that he wants to marry me, and he wants me to have his kids, and so did that Zionist. He said the same thing, okay? And when they say it, they mean it, and they do these mantras to do it, to have it done, okay? So, and force things to happen, okay? So this has been happening to the Armenian women for centuries, okay? Because our riches have been stolen from us, okay? I had a kingdom. I had winery. My ancestors have winery. Land, so much land that belongs to us. Where is it now? And we were forced to move out. We were forced to go to the deserts in Syria. And the only reason why we survived is because my great-grandfather was a fedai. He was a freedom fighter. He ripped heads off. He ripped fingers off. He was a mass murderer and he was a hitman. That's the only reason why I'm still alive. And I'm sharing this story. And that's the only reason why I had to go through this stuff. Because it's encoded in my DNA now. So, he said to me, in my country, in Lebanon, when a man wants to marry a woman and her family doesn't accept, he will go and slay a cow, or, like a form of a bull, a cow, take its meat, and bury it in front of her lawn. And it works. And he says, we do these Arabic mantras to get the girl, and it locks her. And I thought this guy was joking. This guy was serious. And he wouldn't tell me he was Muslim at first. He kept saying he was Christian, and he lied. I said to him, you're Muslim. And he's like, how did you know? At first he kept denying it. Okay? But intuitively, I figured it out. And I told him and I confronted him. And this guy never left me alone for years, and he still doesn't leave me alone. These guys, they still try. It wasn't just the Zionists that tried to do this to me. It was these groups of them. Okay, groups. They're very similar to this ISIS. And ISIS, they're not Muslims, guys. There are Mizrahi Jews that were born and raised in Syria, in Lebanon, in Turkey, in Arabic countries, Iraq. Okay, they've had shit lives, so they know the Quran, they know Arabic. Okay, it's just like I'm born in Canada, but I'm Armenian, I have an Armenian heritage. So they're Zionists, okay? Fuck. Just like the Turkish, Talat Pasha, Enver Pasha, the big guys, those who created the nationalism in Turkey, they weren't Turkish, they were Jews, they were Zionists. It's the same thing, okay? Hitler, it's all bullshit, it's all propaganda. Anyways, so, yeah, and I had to go through these things, and I used to say, why is this happening, because nobody has given me a silver-plated plate saying, Talara, this is what you have to go through in order to support the people of the world and educate them and tell them. I'm still alive. I'm still with my family. I'm still living with my family. And what they tried to do is hijack my family and bring so much jinn into my family and bring so much jinn and entities to destroy the love of my family so that I can be with them. Okay? And I remember I knocked out at one point because they were doing so much Hebrew and Aramaic mantras on me that your brain gets messed around with. And all I can remember is them saying, get her pregnant. Make sure you have her pregnant. Okay, so this is beyond fucked up. I'm not making this shit up. This is real. The only reason why I'm saying this in a detached manner, I was detached at that time. Don't be fooled by my appearance, guys. I very much feel it's just my power animals are snake and owl, like main ones. So I don't show my emotions because I'm so analytical and observant. I don't show. And I'm so clairvoyant and clairaudient and empathic and telepathic that I don't show it. My face doesn't show, but I'm still very intuitive and I feel very deeply. And all I remember is they were just trying to destroy my intelligence and make me like brain dead so that they can have control over my body, over me, and do control my family. And it was a repeat, and I understood right then and there, this is what happened to my ancestors, and this is how my riches and my family's homes and riches and land and acres of land, because my family had winery, acres of land, it was ripped away. That's how they had riches, man. They had gold, they had bronze, they had everything. and the Kurds and the Turks and the Armenians, not Armenians, sorry, all those tribal, like, they were, like, just like the Christians and the Muslims that this Zionist messed around with their brain and their DNA, with their chakra system in the Hebrew. There's Hebrew mantras that will totally get in and fuck with your brain to the point where you don't know what's happening, and you hear, it's called a golem. They can control you, okay? They control your mind. You hear things and you give in to them and you start doing them. That's why they cut heads off this ISIS. They're all being controlled by a system in the government, okay? So, and this is how genocides are created. I'm just letting you know right now. This is why I'm going to call it the Armenian Genocide. But this is how genocides are created. It was done to me. I know people who are subscribed to my channel, it was done to them too, and they got away. So, yeah. And so, it's fucked up. But this was done to my family, and I successfully got away because this is my life purpose, that I'm supposed to go through this. And I realized that because I'm still healthy, knock on wood. And I came to that realization that it would not stop and it won't stop until I really need to share my story, and I really need to get this out. But I'm emotionally over it to the point where before I wasn't emotionally over it, and I couldn't, because every time I would talk about it, something would happen. But I don't care anymore. I'm going to keep talking about this. I don't care if you're still subscribed to my channel, if you're still watching me, if you're still doing these Hebrew, Arabic, or Aramaic mantras. It's not going to work anymore because it's been broken. Okay? With me, it's been broken. So the more I talk about this, the more I share this, the more I expose these people, the less of an impact, the less of a power they have over me, over the people as a whole, because this has a vibrational effect. This has a... Study physics, guys. Study physics. The more you keep silent of this, the more power they have over you. Certain things, though, the more you are silent and observant, you gain power, but you have to understand and know when to keep quiet and when to speak up. Because I wasn't speaking a lot with them around. They knew that I was a high priestess. They still know I'm a high priestess. They knew so much about me because they kept doing these mantras where it's giving them information. But what they didn't know is this has been a plot. This has been a plot by the higher divine. This is why I say this was my plot. To put myself in this position, to put myself in that situation, in that position, to find out what happened to my family, because this was a plot for me to come to planet Earth, to go through this, because it's the will of the divine, and I agreed to it before incarnation. Prior to incarnation on Earth, I agreed to this. My soul made a contract to agree to this, to go through this, over and over and over again, so that I can support and help people as much as possible. That's not to say that I'm going to literally prevent 8 billion people from being massacred. No, I can't do that. I wish I could, but I can't. But the more deaths that happen, there's going to be children that are rebirthing who are going to have higher frequencies. They're going to be born on higher frequencies. Hence why I say I'm a crystal child. They're going to be born on the 5th dimension. More of them. Because the more genocides that happen now, the more the governments are going to restore these ancient gods. Eventually, Islam's going to be put down to rest. Christianity is going to be put down to rest. There'll still be Armenians, but it won't be a national god anymore. It won't be a national faith anymore, okay? So they're restoring old. And when you restore the old vibrations are come back. Now, if this makes sense to you, that's great. If it does not make sense to you, again, I'm not making it up. What I highly suggest is for you to do deep, thorough research to grasp this information, to understand this information. I'm 100% healthy. I do not have a mental illness. I do not have a mental disease. I don't have a physical disease or physical disability. Knock on wood. So if you're or I don't do drugs. The only time I've ever had drugs was when I was drugged and raped. But that's a different story, which happened once. But that's a different story. That is in the past, which is very similar to these mantras. Anyways, the effect that it does to you, it's a hypnotism. It's a brainwash. But it can't be done to me anymore, and it does not work anymore because of that high attainment that I've achieved, okay? Again, the reasons why, if you think I'm crazy as to why I would put myself in this situation, it's because as a man of the sun, as an Armenian, as the number 13, which is considered the number of the divine feminine, okay? My purpose in life, my purpose on why I'm here on planet Earth, my purpose of Red Earth Goddess, my purpose of me inheriting my shamanic abilities of my family, was for me to go through this so that I could speak about what is happening in the world, the truth of it, because it's still in my DNA. No matter how much I heal it, no matter how much I'm healed, no matter how much I take vitamins, DNA, cellular level, no matter how much I do this or do that, it's encoded in my DNA. It was, and it will always be, and it has been again. So I know what's coming from all over the world, 4 corners of this world, what the intentions of these governments are, establishing these gods to come, goddesses come, what's the plan, what's the plot. Their aim is to do more genocides. There's going to be more genocides, and it's not going to be the Armenians anymore. It's going to be worldwide. Okay? That's why I say the Book of Enoch. It's in the Book of Enoch. But you have to understand, me going through this is there needs to be real, authentic people placed on this earth. Not many people, but there are. This is why they're called prophets, who are authentic and they stay in their integrity and they are here not giving a shit about money as a whole, as an aim. I do have to feed myself. I do have to take care of myself, and that's why I have a roof over my head. I have to pay for bills, which is why I accept payments for readings. Doesn't mean I care about readings to the point of that's my only intention. But that is why I accept money for my readings. Not because I care about money, but because I accept it because I have to provide for myself and family and such. But someone who stays in their integrity and authenticity of what they've actually been through will educate and talk about these things on a regular basis. And that's why I've promised myself I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. Okay? I'm still alive. That's why I've been chosen by the prophet Enoch to do this, to talk about this, okay? Because for the old to be dissolved, the snake must shed its skin, and unfortunately it's going to hurt. And I tried to run away. I tried so many times to run away, but every time I tried to run away, it got worse and worse and worse and worse. There's this cycle. And in this cycle, in the philosophies, there's the Ouroboros snake. There's my other heavier snake that I have. It's shaped as an 8. You know, the Ouroboros snake? And in the middle, there's a 6-pointed star. I am that 6-pointed star. That divine feminine emerged with that divine feminine. We emerged with the divine masculine. Okay? Let's just say this is the Ouroboros snake. And in between, there's this 6-pointed star, which I'm a part of, which you're a part of as well. And it's like I was running away. And where are you running away to, Talar? Where are you running away? How can you run away? You're just slamming into the other parts of the snake. There's no running away because this is in my DNA and this is in human form. This is in the snowflakes. This is in the rose. It's in all of humanity. It's everywhere. I just dropped it again. It's in all of humanity. It's everywhere. There's no escaping. I'm not meant to scare you, but there is no escaping. There's only facing. And unfortunately, because humans, we all have different opinions, and we're all trying to connect and come back together. Unfortunately, in order for that to happen, people have to have genocides. It's always been around. This is nothing new. Okay? So when the people become stronger as a whole, then and unite despite racism, ethnicity, cultural background differences, when they unite, that is the only time that they can outdo this system. Okay? But until people realize they do have that power to unite, then this is going to keep happening until your own family, your own sister, your home is snatched away from you. It doesn't matter what culture you are, okay? Because look what happened to the Kurds now. They were promised by the Turkish government, the Ottoman government. Sorry, there was no Turkey back then. There was no Turkish culture then. It was the Ottoman government. They promised the Kurds, who were our so-called brothers, okay? The Armenians, the tribal groups, they were our so-called brothers despite their Muslim heritage. Who snatched, Armenian women as well. The Kurds now, they're 2/3 are Armenian. Their mothers were Armenian. Hence why they have that fighting spirit. And now they say they're our brothers. Where were you 100 years ago when you tortured us? Where were you when you stole our home? Now Sassoon is full of the Kurds. Where is my Armenian family? They're now your family. You've snatched the women, And so now it's happening to them. So obviously the government does not care about you. They're feeding you lies in order to do genocides, right? And so if you're African and you're watching this and you say, well, the Africans are going through genocide or my ancestors created genocide, well, you've been played as well. You've been played. And you're going to continue to be played until every single ethnic group and every being and everyone goes through genocide. It's not about just one race. It's not about just one culture. Once this stuff is out, they don't care. And once they're controlled and people are controlled, the governments themselves lose control, okay? They can't stop it. Once things are unleashed, they can't stop it. It goes beyond uncontrollable. It goes beyond. So I'm just here to share my knowledge and my life experiences, and know that if you're new to my channel, or if you're someone who's been watching me silently, or even if you're someone who's left me comments, know this is 100% real. This is my life purpose. This is what I've gone through. This is what my ancestors have gone through, and this is reality. This has been my reality, and I've not lied about one thing. Okay? I have not lied about one thing. You may or may not understand my intentions about this, but I have gone through hell and back, and I'm still surprised I'm still alive. I never wanted to talk about these things. I've been forced to talk about it because I don't have a choice, because my soul promised that I'd incarnate to help as much people as I can, to educate them, and to keep my loving energies. Hence why I say I'm love above and beyond anything, because the more I love myself, the more I love unconditionally and send out love to the world, the more the people will slowly unite and talk about these things and come together. And I'm not saying we got to rebel and throw bombs at the government, because that's not going to work, okay? And that is why Armenians have a bad rep. It doesn't matter if you're looking at Armenian Power 13 in California, of the youth, of the street gangs who do these white, when I say white, it's more like it's not as dangerous. Those are not the real mafias. The real Armenian Power mafias are literally planted all over the world. You don't know about them. You don't hear about them. Those youth will do anything just to be recognized in their area. So they're not the ones to be fearful of, okay? And I'm not telling you to be fearful of, but they're planted all over the globe and you know nothing about them, okay? It's even inherent in my ancestry. It's still happening in my family, okay? And this is no BS. This is no bullshit. And again, for you to know about this and me to talk about this, I've reached a point where I can't keep it in anymore. This needs to be said and done and talked about, okay? So guys, this is a 45-minute video. I need to stop. Thank you for watching. May you be blessed by this rose. Beautiful, beautiful goddess rose. I love you all. Happy Taurus. We're in the phase of Taurus, my sun sign. Maybe I'll make a video tomorrow, and if I don't, about Taurus and Taurus women and the Taurus astrological sign tomorrow. And if I don't, bear with me. Maybe I'll do it when I'm at the Lions Gate this weekend on the 22nd and the 23rd. I'm going to try to get into the tower. There's a tower there, and maybe do readings or talk about certain things there. So maybe I'll talk about Taurus, the bull. In the Middle Eastern cultures, the ancient, before the Abrahamic faiths, Taurus was considered the bull of Baal, of Bel. Okay. Taurus is also the Pleiadian star system. I come from the Pleiadian star system, and I'm not crazy. This shit's real. Your soul comes from stardust. And the Pleiadian star system is full of crystal quartz. I have a queendom there. I look Pleiadian. My soul resonates, my higher self resonates on the Pleiadian star system. Because when I talk, and if I ever talk, my intuition comes from my higher self, which is Red Earth Goddess, and my counterpart is Enoch, the prophet Enoch, and which is an essence of who I am, because the divine feminine and the divine masculine has not separated, never was. And Archangel Metatron, and I'm an angel too. Okay. So the Taurus, the bull, and the Pleiadian star system is in the same constellation. And Haig, the legendary founder of Armenia, not Armenia in Roman name, but Haig in the Armenian name, is Orion, and he's constantly chasing after the Pleiadian sisters to get them. Hence why they capture and steal and kidnap the Armenian women and create a new culture. Hence why we have literally given birth to Europe, to the Middle East. They're all Armenian women who have given birth to these cultures, okay? So I love you. Thank you for watching. I don't want to keep talking and talking and talking because I can do that for so long. Okay, guys? I love you. Thanks for watching. Bye.